This video shows the Git cloning and development process, uh, cloning the project, bringing it into Spring Tools Suite. So I always have a top-level directory wherever I am called Git. And so in that directory, I've got a bunch of things already. I'm going to go into a new and empty directory, EML CTS dev 2021-02-15. I generally keep the name reasonably clear as to what it is and put the date at the end. So now we need to do a git init in this folder. And now we can do a git clone, and we need to make sure we have the correct URI. It is the URI of the base page, not the branch that we're going to. So we're going to clone into our local directory. So now we do an ls, we cd into EML CTS, and here we are. So since Git works by searching up the file hierarchy, we can always do a typed correctly git status, and we're on master. And to get to another branch, an existing one in this case, we will do git checkout dev. Okay, so we are now properly on the branch. We don't need to do a pull because we already cloned. The wiki shows in project build steps that. Now, we are going to now I'm going to use the same file name, and we're going to open Spring Tools Suite. And Spring Tools Suite, which is Eclipse with some wrapping things, gives us the capability of setting workspaces. Now, I'm very careful to only do, here we're doing a new, oh, come on, EML-CTS dev 21-02-15. I try to do the same name for the Git archive as for the workspace, and I do not put or have Eclipse Spring Tools Suite download the folders. So we've now created a workspace. It's noted here, and we're going to launch Spring Tools Suite. The next step, and you can follow along in the wiki under project build steps. So we are now in a new Spring Tools Suite workspace. We're going to import projects, and the type we're going to do is Git, projects from Git with smart import. Existing local repository, it will search, and this is also where it's good to have the same names, because otherwise it can be very confusing. So these are our Git repositories on our machine. Here is the one we just did, EML CTS dev 2021-02-15.git. We're going to select it and finish. So it's got the red X there to stop if we want. The code structure, the repository you want is this Maven repository. So uncheck that. Check for nested projects and other stuff. And so now we're going to finish, and it will pull the full project in. And here we go. Now, the project that we have just pulled remember we cloned it into our Git folder, and so we don't have to find the generally hidden or hard to look into Eclipse Workspace folders. It just makes life a lot easier. It also means you can edit files yourself with Vim or whatever your favorite editing tool is. Now, all right, so we have complete, and we should be able to select, make sure we're here. Build automatically is one of the options we want, and clean removes any binaries, jar files, other libraries that were generated, and by cleaning we should be able to build. And let's take a look at our warnings. This is an issue that should be on the backlog to make sure it's correctly here. We are trying to use Java 8 as our default. This machine happens to have Java 13 installed. Most of these are fairly benign. I'm going to enlarge this a bit. Things like imports aren't used. These are not real important things. All right, so now we should be able to select our project and project run as Spring Boot app. So let's see what we get. Okay, and if you looked at my other video on running, title this is a common error you will see if you are only building EML CTS. The reason is that Parity Client is not running and therefore is not there to be connected to by a socket client that is in the LMM code. We can cure that by taking our previous example, previous video, and running both Parity System and Parity Client. I'm not going to do that right now, but if you see an error like this, this is the problem. The other common error is buried in JDBC, and that is a failure if the MySQL database isn't running. We only use one table, but it still checks for liveness and connects to the database. So there you have it. We now have cloned the project, switched to the dev branch, and here are all of our files organized in a standard Java hierarchy. Now let's fix the problem that caused this connection refused. Remember that a socket client fails if there's no socket server to connect to. However, a socket server is indeed a classical listener pattern and waits for connections from socket clients. So I have Parity System in this window ready to run. It's running, and this should be the client using the same configuration file we did earlier. So if we now stop this, okay, and let's run it again as, oh, we have to select the top level. So let's run it again as a Spring Boot app and see what we get if we get past that. Again, if you look, this is identical to the screen output that we had. And I just happen to have Postman still available. So let's take and run the same set of things that we ran before. I'm going to hide Postman now. And the trace as it's currently set up, we don't get any results there. But if we take a look here, we see there's a bunch of orders. So let's go ahead and do the inverse. We'll run that in Postman, which sends these. And we're again down to one remaining order and a bunch of trades. And just as with the standalone case, running inside Spring Tool Suite, we have the, if I can grab the right thing, we get create transactions posted back, flowing through EML CTS until they eventually get to the client. So this is precisely the same behavior. There is one slight wrinkle. So I'm going to stop this right now and show you one more thing. This is the reason that we have use a Maven command line to package. So let's see if this is the right place. Nope, we need to go up. Okay, and so we're going to go in here, and we need to go to the directory where the pom.xml file is. And that should be complete. And yes, we have it. So the command line that we run, at this point, we have a pure, a simplified jar file. And let's see if this is the right target. Nope, we need to go over to the same place we just were. Complete, and target, remember, is where the binaries are put. So we should have classes. No, not sure there. So anyway, we're in the correct directory, and we type Maven package, and that will do what is necessary to build. So it's now pulling the jar together, and I need to actually go up a level. Make sure I'm in the right place. Well, no wonder I'm in the wrong directory. So one critical thing is choose the correct directory. Okay, so we're going to do the Maven package here. And we should be able to do an ls of target. And here is the original. That was the jar that was generated by Spring Tool Suite running its Java compiler. And this is the jar that we can run that will produce exactly the same output, but as a standalone application.